Hey, we are diving deep into some seriously mind-bending stuff.
Oh, yeah, we're going there.
We are tackling Ringmakers of Saturn
A classic.
by Norman R. Berggren.
That's right.
And this book, let me tell you, throws the whole astronomy textbook out the window.
It really does.
And basically says, what if those incredible rings around Saturn,
Yeah.
they aren't just some old ice and dust?
Right.
What if they're actually being built, like right now, as we speak, by these giant intelligent machines?
It's a wild idea.
It is a wild idea.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
Berggren isn't just some, UFO guy sitting in his basement.
Right.
I mean, this guy's an aerospace engineer.
He's got serious credentials.
Worked at Lockheed Martin, NASA,
Exactly.
He knows his stuff.
So he brings some real scientific weight to this really out there theory.
Yeah.
And he claims, too,
Yeah.
it's not just him speculating.
No.
He says he's got the photographic evidence
Photographic evidence.
from the Voyager missions to back it up.
It's there.
But before we even get to the images, what even got him looking at Saturn's rings differently in the first place?
Well, Saturn's rings have always been, kind of mysterious, right?
Yeah.
Astronomers have noticed some pretty weird things about them that don't really fit with the idea that, they're just simple.
Right. Just a bunch of stuff orbiting around.
Yeah, static formations.
Yeah.
Like, for example, there's this thing called the Encke division,
Okay.
which is this gap in the A ring.
Mm-hmm.
And it moves around.
What?
Yeah.
So it's like a gap that changes position.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not even there.
A moving gap.
Uh-huh.
That's not what you expect from, like, a bunch of rocks and ice just hanging out, right?
No, definitely not.
What else doesn't really fit?
Well, the thickness of the rings,
Okay.
the rings vary in thickness, like from, I think it's like 10 miles thick
Wow.
to over 200 miles thick in some places.
Really?
And then there are these reports of these, like, strange lights.
Lights?
Yeah.
What kind of lights?
Well, they kind of appear and disappear in the rings.
Right.
Some people have even reported them, like, zipping across the rings.
Zipping across.
Huh?
At what kind of speeds are we talking?
I mean, mind-boggling speeds.
Wow.
Really fast.
So it sounds like there's a lot more going on
Yeah.
in those rings than we think.
A lot more.
So is this where Berggren's analysis of the Voyager images comes in?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He claims that those Voyager images, they actually show these huge
Okay.
cylindrical vehicles.
It's vehicles.
Yeah, he calls them ringmakers.
Ringmakers.
And I'm not talking small here.
Okay.
These things, he says they're, like, bigger than Earth.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they leave these trails behind them.
Trails of what?
Well, he thinks they're, like, spewing out material to form the rings.
So they're making their rings.
That's what he thinks.
That's wild.
And these trails, they stretch for, like, tens of thousands of kilometers.
So, hold on, wait. He's saying there are, like, pictures from NASA spacecraft that actually show these things?
That's what he's saying.
What exactly is he seeing in these pictures?
So he points to all these different images where he sees these long,
Yeah.
like, slender shapes, and they're, like, shooting out these huge plumes of material.
Plumes of what?
Well, he doesn't really know.
Okay.
But he thinks it's the stuff that the rings are made of.
Huh.
And he says this is how the ring makers are actually creating and, like, replenishing the rings.
Okay.
He even gives specific examples. Like,
Oh,
there's
great.
one image where he points out this vehicle
Okay.
that seems to be creating the Encke division.
The gap.
Yeah, that gap.
Wow.
And it's got these jets along its body that are pumping out material.
So he's going from these, I mean, I imagine they're kind of blurry shapes in these photos.
I mean, they're not the clearest photos, but he's saying these are giant spaceships building rings. That's a big jump.
It is a big jump.
But let's just say for a second,
Yeah.
let's say these ring makers are real.
Okay.
What makes them think they're not just some kind of,
Right.
big dumb machines
Yeah.
just spitting out stuff?
Right.
Well, he sees evidence that these things aren't just mechanical.
Oh.
They're actually manipulating energy.
Energy.
Yeah.
Like what kind of energy?
We're talking energy on a scale that we can barely even imagine.
Okay, now I'm really interested.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
Tell me more about this energy aspect.
Okay, so he points out all these, like, donut-shaped structures in the images.
Donut shaped.
Yeah, he calls them toroidal formations.
Toroidal formations.
And these are signs of powerful electromagnetic fields.
Really?
And Berggren believes that the ring makers are using these electromagnetic forces to, like, shape and control the rings.
Wow.
Maybe even drawing energy directly from Saturn itself.
So we're talking like giant spaceships spewing out matter, and they're controlling these crazy powerful forces.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like way beyond anything we can even do.
Oh, yeah, it makes our technology look like a kid's toy.
Yeah?
It's incredible.
This is like straight out of science fiction.
It really is.
But it gets even weirder.
Oh, it does.
Because he doesn't just stop at Saturn.
No.
He thinks these ring makers
Yeah.
are having an impact on the moons, too.
That's right.
Okay, now we're getting into some interesting territory.
Yeah.
Which moons is he talking about?
Well, take Dione, for example.
You know?
There are images of Dione that show this
Yeah.
like narrow band of terrain,
Mm-hmm.
and it's unusually bright and active.
Active in what way?
Well, it's giving off energy,
Huh.
and there's no obvious natural explanation for it.
Okay.
And Bergeron says,
Yeah.
maybe this could be a result of like energy transfer
So
from
you
a
think
nearby
they're just-
ringmaker.
So he's saying it's not just building rings.
No.
It's potentially like messing with the moons too.
Yeah, like terraforming.
Wow.
And then there's Iapetus.
Iapetus, that's the one with the two-tone surface, right?
Exactly. One side's bright and icy,
Yeah.
and the other side's dark, like covered in carbon.
Yeah.
And Bergeron claims there are images that show a ringmaker, like enveloped in this electromagnetic field.
Around Iapetus.
Yeah, around Iapetus.
And he's saying that could explain the two-tone surface.
That's what he thinks, yeah.
Okay, so we've got possible evidence of these things.
Yeah.
Building rings around Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe messing with the moons.
Uh-huh.
Drawing on these crazy energy sources.
It's wild.
I'm starting to see why this book is so controversial.
Oh, it's definitely out there.
Where do we even go from here?
Well, Bergeron doesn't stop at Saturn and its moons.
Oh, no.
He thinks these ringmakers,
Yeah.
they've left their mark a lot closer to home.
Closer to home. What do you mean?
I mean, he thinks they've been to our moon.
Our moon.
Our moon.
He's saying that our moon was engineered by these ringmakers.
Well, not the whole moon. Okay.
But he does think that they left their mark on it.
Okay.
He points to this this area called Mare Orientale. It's this huge lunar basin, and he says it's got features
Yeah.
that are like a dead ringer for the stuff he sees around Saturn.
Really?
Yeah, like it's got this central
Yeah.
hole, he calls it,
Okay.
and then these rings around it.
Concentric rings. Like
Concentric rings,
Saturn.
like around Saturn.
Mm-hmm. And these radial markings.
Where are radial
Like
markings?
lines coming out from the center.
Okay.
And he says those line up with the hypothetical structure of a ringmaker.
So it's like
Yeah.
he's saying there's a chance that our moon might actually have scars
Yeah.
from these ringmakers.
Like they were there.
That's I don't even know what to say to that. That's crazy.
It is pretty wild.
Yeah.
It really makes you think.
It does. It makes you think like if they're capable of
Shaping moons and maybe even like terraforming them.
right.
What does that even mean for life? Like in
Yeah.
the universe?
That's a huge question.
Yeah.
I mean, if Bergeron's right,
Yeah.
this throws a wrench in the whole idea that Earth is unique, right?
Right.
Like maybe these ringmakers are seeding life.
On other worlds.
Yeah, on other worlds.
Or maybe they've been influencing life here for a lot longer than we even realize.
That's a possibility.
Wow, that's a lot to take in.
It is.
Is he saying like
Yeah.
are you saying that Bergeron thinks that these ringmakers are directly involved with life on Earth?
He doesn't rule it out.
Really?
No. What does he say?
Well, he connects their activity
Yeah.
to some unexplained events in Earth's history.
Like what?
Well, remember the Tunguska event?
The Tunguska event. Yeah, wasn't that in
1908.
1908 Siberia?
Siberia, yeah.
Yeah, a huge explosion, right?
Massive explosion.
Flattered like hundreds of square miles of forest.
Yeah, they still don't really know what caused it.
Right. Scientists are still debating it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Bergeron's like, well, what if it was a ringmaker?
A ringmaker.
Yeah.
What, like in malfunctioned or something?
Maybe, or maybe it exploded on purpose. Who
On
knows?
purpose. Why would they do that?
He doesn't really say, but he even goes so far as to say
Yeah.
that maybe they're influencing our weather patterns.
The weather.
Yeah.
Come on, that's
I know it sounds
a
crazy.
little far-fetched, isn't it?
It's definitely out there.
Blaming bad weather on giant space machines.
But I think his point is,
Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't be so quick
Yeah.
to dismiss alternative explanations, right?
Right.
Like, maybe there are things happening that we just attribute to natural causes.
Right.
But what if there's something else going on?
So he's saying, like, we need to think outside the box.
Yeah, think outside the box.
Yeah.
Question our assumptions
Not bad.
about how the universe works.
That's pretty profound.
It is. It's like
Yeah.
he's saying there might be this, like, bigger picture,
Yeah.
this cosmic dance that we're just catching glimpses of.
That's kind of exciting,
It is exciting.
but also a little scary
It's definitely both.
to think that, like, these incredibly powerful
Yeah.
beings could be out there just
Yeah.
messing with us, you know?
It's definitely humbling.
And it raises the question, like, if they're real, what are they doing?
What are their motives?
Yeah.
Are they good? Are they bad? Should we be afraid of them?
That's the big question, isn't it?
That's the $1,000,000 question.
Does Bergeron
Yeah.
give us any answers?
Well, he doesn't say he knows for sure.
Okay.
But he does point out
Yeah.
that if they wanted to wipe us out,
Yeah,
they probably could have done it by now.
that's true.
So he sees their, like, restraint
Yeah.
as a possible sign that they're not hostile.
I mean, that's slightly comforting.
It is a bit comforting.
It's still, I don't know, it's still kind of creepy
It is creepy.
to think that they might be out there
Yeah.
watching us.
Just observing.
Yeah.
Maybe even manipulating us.
Yeah, and we have no idea.
Yeah, we're just pawns in their game.
I mean, it's humbling, but also a little terrifying.
It is. It's both.
But I guess that's why we need to understand them, right?
Exactly. The more we know,
Yeah.
about these Ringmakers, their capabilities,
Yeah.
their possible motivations,
Yeah.
the better prepared we'll be for any future interactions.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
But how do we even begin? Like,
Yeah.
this is all so radical. How do we
Right.
separate the speculation from the science?
That's the challenge. I think
Yeah.
Berggren would say this is a starting point.
Okay.
Like a call to action for the
Right.
scientific community to take a closer look,
Okay.
to re-examine the evidence,
Yeah.
consider these possibilities, even if they seem outlandish.
But he's not saying, like,
Wrong.
believe everything I say. No, not at all.
He's saying, let's investigate.
Yeah,
Let's
investigate.
be open-minded and see where the evidence leads.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how science works.
That's how science progresses, yeah.
I mean, it's exciting to think that we might be on the verge of
Yeah.
discovering something totally revolutionary.
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
It could change everything.
Yeah, our understanding of the universe, our place in it.
Everything.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
But even if he's wrong,
Yeah,
it's still a good reminder
it is.
that the universe is full of mysteries.
Absolutely.
And there's so much we don't know.
We've just scratched the surface.
Okay, let's get back to the Ringmakers.
Okay.
Does Berggren, does his analysis stop at
Yeah.
Saturn, its moons, our moon?
Well,
Or does he think
thinks there's evidence of them elsewhere in the solar system.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So where else does Berggren think these Ringmakers are leaving their mark?
Well, he takes a look at the data from Voyager 2 when
Yeah.
it flew by Uranus.
Uranus, which also has rings, right?
It does, yeah.
But they're not as prominent as Saturn's.
No, they're much fainter.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
He thinks those rings are formed in a similar way to Saturn's.
Okay.
And guess what?
Right.
He says he sees the same kind of cylindrical vehicles
Really?
in the rings of Uranus.
So it's not just a Saturn thing.
Nope.
These Ringmakers, if they're real,
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Maybe even throughout the whole solar system.
does he have any other examples?
He does, yeah.
Okay.
He looks at one of the Uranian moons.
Okay, Miranda.
Miranda, that's the one that looks like someone just like
I know.
smashed a bunch of different landscapes together.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's got these canyons and cliffs and craters
It's so weird.
all mixed up.
Yeah.
And Berggren says
Yeah.
these bizarre geological features
Could be the result of,
of the Ringmakers.
yeah, those electromagnetic vehicles doing their thing.
Okay, but how? How could they even
Well, he points to some features on Miranda
Yeah.
that are hard to explain with, normal geology.
like what?
Like square corners?
Square corners.
Yeah, and these circular grooves and areas that look like they were
Yeah.
exposed to extreme heat and pressure.
That's pretty specific.
It is.
I mean, it's starting to sound like he sees
Yeah.
evidence of these Ringmakers everywhere.
He does. He sees them everywhere.
I mean, but let's step back for a second.
Okay.
If these things are real
Yeah.
and they're capable of, these amazing feats of engineering,
Right.
what does that even mean for us?
Yeah. It's a big question.
Like, should we be worried?
It's hard to say,
Yeah.
Berggren, he doesn't give us any easy answers,
Okay.
but he does say
Yeah.
we should be careful
Careful about
space exploration. He thinks we need to be aware of the dangers
from.
these, advanced beings
Yeah.
and their powerful technology.
It's like a
Yeah.
like a cosmic warning sign or something.
Yeah, like proceed with caution.
Yeah.
Enter at your own risk.
But we can't let fear paralyze us, can we?
No, definitely not. I think his message is more about respect
Respect for.
for the unknown,
Okay.
Respect for the power of these entities, respect for the balance of the solar system.
So it's not about hiding from the universe.
No.
It's about venturing out.
Yeah.
But being aware
Yeah, being aware
of what might be out
for
there.
consequences, yeah.
And maybe with a little more humility.
I think that's key.
Yeah.
Because if he's right,
Yeah.
we're not the top dogs anymore.
There's something else out there.
There's something else out there, yeah.
It's way more advanced than us.
And we're just starting to figure it out.
Well, I gotta say, my mind is officially blown. This is wild stuff.
It really is.
We started with this theory
Mm-hmm.
that seemed so out there.
Yeah.
And now I don't know, it's like
It's got you thinking.
it's got me thinking, yeah.
That's the point.
It makes you question everything.
It does.
I mean, it's a good reminder
It is.
that we don't know everything.
We don't know anything.
Yeah.
There's so much more to learn.
And sometimes the most incredible discoveries
Yeah.
come from asking the craziest questions.
That's how it works.
So, to our listeners,
Yeah.
we leave you with this. What do you think?
Are the Ringmakers real?
Are they just a fantasy?
Or
Is there something more to it?
keep looking up
Keep asking questions.
and keep exploring.
Until next time.